of 2023 and more importantly, how Deal Street might buzz around in 2024. We have some stats coming in from Kotak Investment Banking, and as we introduce our next guest on the show, I just want to put those numbers up on the table because they're really impressive. And this is the total size of the market. So in calendar year 23, the total deal market grew by 66%. The number of deals were at 340. So basically, that was the growth that we saw in deals. And this was, of course, spread across, action in the secondary market. But the primary market was buzzing around as well. We all know about the absolutely hectic IPO activity that's been going on. 58 total IPOs, raising a total of $6 billion. That's how the stats are totaling up. And guess what? More than half of this happened in the fourth quarter of the calendar year. So the October, November, December period is when deal makers were really, really busy because almost half that money, that's almost $3 billion, got raised in just the fourth quarter of the calendar year. So what is the outlook going ahead? Well, let's ask Mr. V Jayasankar of Kotak Investment Banking. He heads that business for Kotak. Mr. Jayasankar, thank you very much for joining in. Season's greetings to you. First of all, let me wish you a very happy new year. And also, I think congratulations are in order because Kotak has topped the league tables when it comes to, deal making in 2023. So congratulations to you and your team. Let's talk about the way we're stepping into the new year. Are you expecting more of the same, more of the trends that we saw in 23 to play out in this year as well?
Yeah, I would say that the trend in 24 will be far more pronounced as compared to 23 for a couple of fundamental reasons. 23 happened to be a year of more small cap and mid cap IPOs. We are seeing in the pipeline a pretty good buildup of even the large cap IPOs, similar to what you saw somewhat in CY21. So you're going to have large cap, mid cap, and small cap IPOs happening in 24. And the block momentum was also pretty high last year, right through the year, and particularly in the month of December. We expect the block momentum also to continue. So in that sense, 24 will be, in our opinion, even a much bigger year than 23.
Okay, I think there is some problem with that feed, so we're just going to try to fix that. But that is Kotak Investment Banking telling us that they're expecting this kind of trend to continue in the coming year as well, in 2024 as well, and it will only solidify in 2023. Of course, we saw a lot of IPOs, but there were a lot of the smaller IPOs, right? Lots in the mid cap space and the small cap space, and of course the pipeline for what we're going to see in terms of the IPO activity in the next year is very strong, and it's going to be more of the larger companies as well. Mr. Jayasankar, we lost you a little bit over there, but you were mentioning that 2024 will see a lot of the larger IPOs. So do you want to complete that point?
Yeah. So 24 will see larger IPOs across multiple sectors. Some of the new age companies will come to the market. You've already seen a few filings, and a few more filings are in the works. So you're going to see CY24 being a year for large cap, mid cap, as well as small cap. In that way, very different from CY23. And I was saying that India has become a very, very important ECM market globally. We are the fourth largest ECM market in CY23, just behind US, China, and Japan. So that importance of India will continue because India continues to offer perhaps one of the best growth stories around the globe.
Oh, that's a big stat, Mr. Jayasankar. Thanks for sharing that with us. Fourth largest ECM, equity capital market in the world. That's saying something, right? So, on the IPO, since you're saying that this year is going to be more about larger companies, large high-profile IPOs coming in, and I think, Ola Electric is first off the block. I'm not asking you to get into any specific issue here, but a more general question. The public markets gave a lot of the new age companies a very sharp and steep learning curve, right? They came in with losses, and the chat was about price to sales, and that whole narrative had to be changed. Public markets said, no, profits and earnings are really important to us. How do you think some of these newer businesses will list? What will their journey be like? Because these are new businesses, right? Electric vehicles, sustainability, etc. Are you expecting more action here?
Yeah, surely. I think the startup world has learned its lessons of CY21 very, very fast. CY21 is all about growth, and growth. Whereas CY22, 23 onwards, it's more about profitable growth. So if you look at most of the startups that's planning to come to the market, all of them are focusing on profitability in the near term at the EBITDA level, along with pretty strong growth. And when you have leaders in a particular segment, it kind of appeals to investors because new age companies, the beauty of new age companies is the largest one or two companies become clear winners. And if you look at some of the companies like Zomato, Nykaa, Policy Bazaar, and Delivery, you'd be surprised how quickly they pivoted towards profitability as well in the years of 22 and 23. So we see the same thing happening with companies that's coming to the IPO market.
Okay, very interesting conversation, Mr. Jayasankar. We do have lots more questions for you, on the block trades that have taken place, a lot of clean out activity as well. We're going to get to that in just a bit, but allow me to take a short break. We'll be back in 2 and continue this conversation. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Trading Hour. We are in conversation with V Jayasankar, Managing Director and member of the board at Kotak Investment Banking. We've been talking about this big activity in terms of the deals that we've seen in 2023 and specifically towards the second half of the year. Mr. Jayasankar, we were talking about the IPO activity, but the other space where there was a lot of big moves was the blocks that we saw, right? A lot of clean out trades as well. Tell us how you expect that to shape up in this year as well. And do you think the momentum is going to sustain just the way you see it sustaining for the IPOs?
I would say so. I would say that the blocks business has undergone a fundamental difference post-COVID. I'll give you a few examples. For example, KKR exited Max Healthcare. They owned about 50% stake and it was worth about $2 billion. And all of that exit happened in 3 tranches in 1 year. So you could never imagine 5 years back that a PE investor can exit $2 billion, 50% stake in 1 year, 3 tranches. Similarly, very recently, last month, Blackstone exited Embassy, about 24% stake, $850 million. That was a clean out trade. And what this does is it gives confidence to PE investors that it is not just an M&A exit for them and they own a controlling stake. They can sell in the capital markets. And this is going to drive the overall buyout business in India. So it's going to be a virtuous cycle of PE investors putting in more money to work, both in buyout situations and minority situations. And you saw a number of PE investors monetize both minority stakes and majority stakes over the years, especially in the last 2 to 3 years. And that really augurs well. Last year, the blocks business was worth about 20 odd billion. And we expect that probably to continue that momentum and perhaps even go a little bit more.
I guess, Mr. Jayasankar, it is the rise of the retail investor that's giving depth, right? It's Pavitra and I. We are buying those blocks indirectly through mutual funds, which have been very active participants as well. Your sense on the big debate throughout the year was who's smarter? The seller, in many cases, who was the promoter or, long-time, first-round PE investors, whether they're smart, they're selling at these levels, or whether the buyers are obviously the smarter of the lot. Where do you stand on that debate? And then give us a sense of overall valuations. Even when we talk IPOs, are companies coming to you asking for absolute top-of-the-line, top billion-dollar valuations, or is there, is there some sync between earnings and business profile and the asking rate there in the market?
Okay, let me take the IPO returns first. So if you look at last year, CY23, I think on average, IPOs gave a return of about close to 30% on first day of listing and closer to about 45 or 50% end of the year. And these are fantastic returns, right? So it was in some sense a buyer's market in CY23, largely because it was driven by small caps and some mid caps. This year, I think the returns will probably be a lot more balanced as compared to CY23. But I expect investors to make significant money in CY24 too. I think IPOs are getting fairly priced. And that's one big learning, which I think both issuers and investors have taken as a learning from the CY21 cycle. Coming to blocks business, I would say listing is only beginning of a journey. So when PE investors come in at a growth phase, obviously they are investing growth capital, they make their returns, company gets listed, and then they exit both at the time of IPO and post-IPO. You take, for example, Max Healthcare I spoke about. The block got done at 350 rupees. Today, the stock is trading around 600. So both the PE investors have made money. For KKR, it was a multi-bagger. And for incoming investors, it's again been something like a 60% return or more than that in a period of 1.5 years. I mean, it's similarly, you take the case of Mankind. Mankind got listed in April at somewhere about, I think if I recollect correctly, 1100 rupees, somewhere around that ballpark. And there was a block trade that happened in the month of December around 1800 levels. And the stock today is around 2000. So you see that everyone has made money in the whole process. And that's the beauty of any company in a growth phase. As long as the company continues to deliver on its performance, I think whether it's a PE investor, the promoter, or the public market investors, everyone is going to make money.
Okay, on that very positive note, we're going to wind down on this chat. Mr. Jayasankar, thanks a lot for joining us and taking us through this conversation on, what has been an outstanding year in terms of the deal activity that we've seen, the block trades, the IPO action, and looks like it's going to continue in 2024. And for your question, everyone has made money then.
Oh, not bad. And I think the takeaway is India being the world's fourth biggest equity capital market. That says something, really. Well, with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Trading Hours. So we're going to take your leave, but stay tuned. All the action will continue on Halftime Report after this break.